guys can do better than that. Clap for yourselves. I would like to thank everyone that served on the program, had anything to do with my being here. Thank you for this opportunity. You did a great job reading that bio. I'll be sure to get on my aide. She should probably update it a little bit. I'm actually serving my third term in the state legislature. And thank you. And I don't share this with you to boast, but I share it with you so that you understand that you have the ability and the power to do what you put your mind to. And so as a young black boy, grew up here in Alabama, I always say, I learned the importance of going after my dreams, and I hope you will as well. So a special thank you to the leadership team that invited me to be here today, to the board of trustees, President Wilson and his cabinet, the deans, Dr. Haywood, chair of the Martin Luther King Jr. Convocation, faculty, staff, and more importantly, the great students of the Alabama State University. All right, y'all concerning me. This is your university. When I say the Alabama State University, I want y'all to make some noise. When I received the call to come and share with you my thoughts on the importance of community, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his legacy that we now live, I was honored. I don't know how many of us had the opportunity to come back to the university to share their thoughts as an up-and-coming leader. I sat in those same chairs you're sitting in, and I said to myself, one day, I'd love to come back and share with the students how much Alabama State University means to me. And so I'm here. Alabama State on Mother Day called me back, and I'm here. I believe that education is a civil rights issue of our generation. And if you care about promoting opportunity and reducing inequality, the classroom is the place to start. Great teaching is about so much more than education. It is a daily fight for social justice. Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan, October 9th, 2009. I saw this quote on a slide attending the most recent 2016 National Summit on Education Reform in Washington, D.C. And I haven't been able to shake this quote from my mind since. Alabama State University, this is about us. This is about education. It is about the community. It's about unity. We have understood this for the last 150 years. This is our responsibility. Albeit not of the same magnitude, last year I received the same call from old Mother Dear, and with an expected wife, that is, my baby girl is having our baby girl, and I'm excited about it. Y'all can clap, I'm having a baby. With an expected wife and local responsibilities, mind you, one day before the transition of our nation, yes, I am an elected official now, I get a call from my alma mater, and y'all know there was no doubt that I would do whatever it took to be here with each and every one of you. The message we are speaking of today is one that centers around unity and our role in advancing unity. It is an honor, again, to be right back here where I learned about so many things. An institution that has given me so much and continues to provide opportunities across this nation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is the kind of person that is very difficult to talk about. He was extremely sophisticated and complex, but even more so, he is celebrated so much that it is hard to really figure out which angle one might take when you're talking about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. For those of us who have the opportunity or the pleasure of being educated in a city like Montgomery, Alabama, with a rich history and a direct experience with Dr. King, and those of us who were taught about Dr. King, not just in history classes, but on our campus walks and our legislative interfaces. And I have to pause for a second and give one of my mentors, Dr. John F. Knight, a huge thank you over the podium. I see Dr. Wilson there as well. It's a pleasure to see you, sir. I have to say, it is because of individuals like you, JFK we call you, that I'm able to walk the halls of the Connecticut General Assembly, having served as one of your interns, and stand upright and let those who tell me that I can't do it, I can. So thank you. I worked for John Knight for many years. Candace there, Mola, was my boss. She's here. Moved to Connecticut, where I met some amazing people, and I was told not to say anything about this other individual, but Zilla Fluker is a really good friend of mine, and I really appreciate, I know, get me later, I don't care. I really appreciate this opportunity and being able to mentor me as well. So thank you. Y'all give them a round of applause. But Alabama State University can fully claim and post that you can't tell Dr. King's story without telling the story of Alabama State University. Y'all clap. This is our history. Here are a few examples of what I mean. It was steps from here in the direction over I'm challenged here, geography, so somewhere over there, where Dr. King conducted research to complete his PhD dissertation. When Dexter Avenue Baptist Church reached out and decided that they will give their young minister from Atlanta, Georgia, an opportunity to interview and therefore deliver his trial sermon. Dr. King stayed with a dear friend who just happened to be the vice president of the Alabama State University and who lived right over there in those White Houses across from the Hornet Stadium. So the first night that Dr. King slept in Montgomery, Alabama, he slept on our campus, Alabama State University. Now, I can tell you, I can talk about him being the Founders Day speaker for the greatest fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, right here on the campus in 1958. But you can imagine a local minister that lived less than a mile from the campus probably spent a lot of time on campus doing a lot of speaking engagements, community organizing, partnerships, discussions, and legislative affairs right here on our campus. What they tell me is that Dr. King was on the campus of Alabama State University at times that you would never see in the history books. You'll never read it, but you experience the stories of those that walk this campus. As you know, Dr. King was a very outspoken Negro. Some of y'all might say another word. But he was an outspoken Negro. And sometimes viewed as a Negro, or some of you that have grown up among the ranks, African American, who didn't know his place. That came with a lot of attention, that came with a lot of attacks. And it is, to my understanding, and the people who told me this, that are credible resources, because of that, they were there. they know the story. Oftentimes when Dr. King was in compromising situations, or quite frankly, his life was in danger, they hid out in that little white house that I referred to earlier over there that we call Friendship Manor, the former president's residence. In addition to all of this, some of Dr. King's trusted confidants were Fred Reese of Selma, Fred Gray, Rosa Parks' attorney, and Fred Shuttlesworth of Birmingham, and the Reverend Dr. Ralph David Abernathy of Montgomery, all graduates of the Alabama State University. I remember being in several classes on Alabama State campus, and I see one young gentleman. I mean, he looks good. I may tear your name to pieces, but just know my heart. And I want you to stand up so folks will know you. Dr. Morton, is that what it is? Oh, there you go. That was my history. Y'all, you stand up. Y'all give him a round of applause. There you go. Y'all don't understand. I really believe that black really don't crack. You look amazing. So, to honor Dr. King and all of my sharing some of the important historic highlights, let's not keep talking about him, but rather let's talk about the charge that has been given to all of us. As a leader, I am constantly looking for ways to provoke transformation. Every day I'm faced with a great sense of urgency to paint a vivid picture of a better tomorrow for those I lead, also to acknowledge the many sacrifices of those same people and the ones who labored before me. Dr. King says, we have also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of grandiloquism. Now is the time to make the real promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation, or one might say unemployment, inequalities, or inequalities in our education system, to the sunlight path of racial and equal justice. Now is the time to lift our nation and even our communities from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all God's children. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook this urgency of that moment. Here is our reality. The racism we are experiencing today or tomorrow are only a mirror image to the various placed before people of color, particularly African Americans during the grassroots evolution of our nation, and we continue to evolve. To assist with easing the many burdens of the racial complexities, Congress passed the Voting Rights Act of 1865. Here's a little history lesson for you. To outlaw discriminatory practices in voting that plagued our nation for years and continue today. I don't know if we lost power or not, but I'll keep talking until someone comes up and turn on speaker. Can y'all hear me out there? Yep. Yeah. You've studied that. I know many of you have studied it, haven't you? Maybe not. We'll get you back. This act served as a re-emphasis to the 15th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which addressed discrimination on the basis of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. This measure prohibited states from applying any discriminatory practices and established federal oversight over elections administrations. To provide you with a more recent example of inequality, let me share with you my own political win that comes after 2 primaries, a court case, a revote, and a recount. And I'm talking about my own election. I lost by 1 vote the first time I ran for political office. only to find, right, standing before the judge tells me, Mr. McGee, we don't have any precedent cases here, and we don't know what else to do, but we got one more ballot that we have to open. There was an absentee ballot that this lady cast. And there were 3 opponents. And she says, here lies your fate. I don't know what to tell you, but when we open it, it'll determine whether or not you'll go back out to the streets to get the vote. Now, y'all can only imagine. I'm trembling. I'm scared. I want to win. She opened the ballot, and come to find out it was not for myself or the guy I was running against who had the highest numbers. It was for our 3rd opponent. And I was able to run the race and win by 90% of the vote in my district. I'm not telling you this because I need you to clap for me. I'm telling you this because voting has power. I'm telling you this as young people, not so young. You all are in very, very, very strategic positions to cast your power and to utilize your vote. Inequality still exists. You all must address it. So as a 3rd-term legislator, I'm working, and I'm skipping through a lot of this, but I'm working among 10,000 people, serving them at the General Assembly, serving on the Committee of Finance and Education, Appropriation, the Vice Chairman of the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus of our legislative body. I'm excited to be a 32-year-old young man in the higher ranks of the state of Connecticut. Again, I'm sharing with you that you all have the opportunity to aim high and to go after your dreams with a purpose. The grim statistics of black males killing one another and the many uneducated young people totally driven by the hip-hop mantra, keeping it real, and that's probably a little dated. I don't know what the new saying is. What is it? Keep it 100? Something like that, okay. But here's my response to all of this. I had to come to terms with my own reality, acknowledging that knowing is not enough. Knowing is not enough that our young men to witness positive black male leadership, or it's not enough to simply know that every year, over 1.2 million students drop out of high school in the United States alone. That's a student every 26 seconds, or 7,000 students a day. It's not enough to simply know that a quarter of our high school freshmen failed to graduate on time. It's not enough to simply know that in the U.S., high school dropouts commit at least 75% of all crimes. No, it's certainly not enough. So I had to organize my thoughts, my emotions. Y'all know how black folk are. We get to going and we keep it going. But I had to organize. I had to reassess. And I had to put my energy in places that would be impactful. And so I established many campaigns to recruit black males, not limited to, but black males to mentor our young people in the city of Hartford. I had to organize with those with money that could provide the resources for our young people to attain scholarships to universities like the Alabama State University. And so with all of my efforts, I have since committed my energy to serving as the president of the Beta Sigma Lambda Educational Foundation, where we provided and have provided well over $150,000 in scholarships to universities across this world. I also have had the opportunity to serve as the board chair of a mentoring program for the state of Connecticut called Ascend. And thank you all that are leaving out. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. And I've had the opportunity to participate in that. Oh yeah, I remember being in those seats and they calling us out. I remember. Dr. Larkin would always say, sit down now. but I'm using and leveraging all of the resources that God has given my hands to do. And so my efforts continue to provide these opportunities, but I want to shift gears a little bit. Alabama State is at an intersection. As we celebrate 150 years of excellence in education, we find ourselves again at a crossroad or a transformation period. There are many challenges that we have experienced in the last 30 days, and I'm sure, like any other organization, there are many changes that will occur in the next 30 days. Some will like, and others they won't like. Here is what's real. The world is ever changing, and we see change as a challenge, then we are doomed. Think about Dr. King. What I didn't tell you is that he stayed again on this campus the first night because of the people who looked like him, not those who didn't look like him. And what I'm saying is they didn't allow for him to stay in any of the hotels in the city of Montgomery. So he stayed right here on campus. But what I can tell you is that through unity and community, a change will come, not only to the Alabama State University, but to our world. On November 9th, 2016, we all woke up to a new reality. I know I did. As much as we celebrated the election of the nation's first black president, President Obama, we have been equally numbed by this year's election results. In many ways, this election was a reminder of the country's painful past, words and actions of hate and degradation towards people of color. 8 years ago, we were cautiously optimistic that America had to turn a corner, that the days of the vicious attacks against black people would lessen. Indeed, our President Obama, occupied the White House, but his election, while a proud moment for us, awakened in others a rage that would simmer and stew, ultimately coming to a boil. And while the boiling point did not manifest itself through whips and strange fruits, the blood of our men and women would be shed nevertheless. So here we are, and I'm closing, because y'all look like y'all going to sleep. So here we are. But we must not let this moment set us back. We have endured being ripped from our continent, enslaved and forced to build a country that continues to implement policies that deny us equitable education, housing, and health care. We have fought for a nation that forced us to drink from separate water fountains, then failed to make our water safe to drink. We have contributed our minds to this country, inventing life-saving procedures and sending men to space. In return, our families sent to drug-filled or flooded neighborhoods. Through all of this, we have survived it all, and will survive the next 4 years. And we will survive this moment in history too. So the question remains, what is our part in all of this? For starters, we have to get beyond just saying it, we have to do it. While we all recognize that the importance of education, community involvement, and voting, which is one of the crucial steps to effective civic engagement, we should also recognize that's not enough. We have to get back or get beyond the vote by acting on our desires for democracy that identifies and represents all Americans and not some Americans. It is great to have African Americans as elected officials and top professionals with expertise in respective areas. But guess what? That's not enough. We have to stop allowing for all of the representatives in our communities, including myself, to become complacent or lose sight of our unified message, and that is to advance our people. And then we have to be sure to perpetuate the message of hope and the urgency of now. It is not enough to want change. We must be about the change we actually want to see. We have to be the change. We have to be unified. We have to be the community that we want to see. So again, I know I've done a whole lot of talking. Sorry, English majors. But I'd like to leave with you a few questions. A few questions I'd like for you to ponder, but then I want you to ask yourself, how will you respond? How will you take a stand against the social ills of our communities? How will you make your voice be heard? How will you, yes you the students, go beyond the vote? How can we, as a group of committed leaders, college students, community stakeholders, catalyze, not just plan for, but catalyze action, justice, and equality? And lastly, how can we collectively show our dedication to our cause and to our people? And lastly, with a will to change, a foundation by love, human transformation will occur. God bless the Alabama State University. God bless the United States of America. Thank you.